welcome to Centonomy. Those who are here for the very first time, we're so glad that you have chosen to join us and to be part of this conversation about managing your finances during a crisis. It's so important for us to, in times like this, gain some kind of focus, get some kind of a perspective in this space. And I'm so glad to have my brother Douglas as well, who is Centonomy Damu. He has been with us for a long time. And he has taken not just the lessons of Centonomy, but his own much further, and has gone out to even begin to mentor and help others within his own space. And I think that's extremely powerful. So that is the topic for today. We don't have a lot of time, so we're going to get straight into it. Just a quick introduction. My name is Waithaka Gatumia, and I serve as a lead trainer at Centonomy, as well as the CEO of the company. And we have been in business for over 10 years now. We've been educating in the area of personal finance and investment. We've also gotten into the area of entrepreneurship. Our key focus is wealth creation. And we recognize that you create wealth either through your job and the income you earn there, through a business that you're running and the income that you earn there. And it is so important that you begin to figure out how do all these things work together to allow you to live the lifestyle that you want. So I'll give you the definition of wealth shortly, but I want to introduce my dear brother, Mr. Douglas Waudo. And Douglas, I think you'll do a much better job at introducing yourself and telling people about all the amazing things that you're doing now with yourself. As you can see on the screen, he is the CEO and founder of LEMP, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about that. Douglas, tell the people why we should be listening to you.
First of all, I want to thank God for this wonderful opportunity and Centonomy for having me. And thank you so much, Waithaka, for organizing this. I think this is really timely. So I look forward to engaging everyone and sharing my lessons, mistakes, experiences in the journey of financial freedom and wealth creation. My name is Douglas Waudo. I am, Damu Centonomy. I joined Centonomy quite a long time ago, I think over 7 years ago. And I've been with them ever since. And I am so, grateful for such a platform that really opened my eyes and made me the man that I am today. I am the founder and CEO of LEMP. LEMP stands for Living Effectively Mentorship Program. It's a structured mentorship program that we offer. I think a lot of more information, you'll find it on our website, lemp.co.ke. So I will not go into a lot of details on the program, but there is a lot of information online. Thank you.
That's great. Douglas, you also do a couple of other things. It's not just a mentorship. What do you do when you're not mentoring other young people?
Professionally, my background is communication. I have going now into 15 years of communication. I work right now for an international NGO. I am the communication specialist for East and Southern Africa. And I am also an author. I've authored 2 books. I'm currently working on my 3rd and 4th novel. And I'm a farmer as well. I am a communication consultant. I am a father and our husband to a lovely lady called Liz. And we have a daughter called Tanisha. So I think that is it for now, unless you want me to add any specific information.
It's so important. We have to have some context because all of us are sitting, well, most of us are sitting at home. I don't know if you're going to the office much. I think yesterday was the first time I'd been there in a month, more than a month that I'd been in the office. I'd almost forgotten where we were. But my question to you is, how have you been dealing with this crisis yourself? How have you been able to manage it?
The crisis, I don't think anyone was prepared. So a lot of us are just doing a lot of learnings, but it's been over a month now. I think we've kind of settled into the normal kawaida ways of now, managing our daily, occurrences. For me personally, most of my days, because I'm working from home, so it's a lot of meetings, a lot of calls. And then besides that, I also have time to do my own personal things. I'll go into details later, quite a little bit later, because it's connected to what I will be sharing today.
That's right.
But we've kind of now managed with family, and we are hanging in there and really trusting God that this will soon come to an end.
That's right. That's right. So it's so much balancing, especially as you said, when you have children. I joke around and I tell people I'm now the headmaster, because I think you said you have one daughter, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
I have three. So, and they're all at different stages of education. So we spend a lot of time in the morning trying to do homework and learning and all those different things, but it's a process to get through. And it's so important, because I think one of the shocks guys have had now of staying home is how much people eat. You know, you're not normally eating from home, so your budget for everything that you're eating in your house has completely changed. I don't know whether that's happened to you as well, Douglas.
Incidentally, the budget for food has gone a bit down, I think, because I will not mention names, but I think we were also used to hosting people around, and so kind of
okay,
down.
okay.
And and then so for us, we are good. I think also we had planned much earlier as we do our monthly shopping for the house, so we are able to kind of if worse comes to us, I can confidently say I think the food we have and everything in the house in terms of shopping, I think we'll be good in the next 3 or 4 months without ever wanting to go to a supermarket.
That's right. I mean, it's the kind of one of those things you have to begin to plan for. It's for in our house, it's just that most of us are generally not around at that time. But let's get into the discussion for today. We're talking about managing our money in a time like this, and I felt it was important to begin to share the principles that we have at Centonomy, and we've been doing it widely. In case you follow us on social media across the board, we've been sharing these principles. We want to start with the fundamentals, and once we've gotten through the fundamentals, then we'll be able to now have some discussions and take some questions about it, because as I said, we're here for 1 hour. Let's get the best out of it, and then we'll share a little bit about how you can get involved at Centonomy as well and begin to grow your own wealth creation journey. So let me just start off, and Douglas, I'm sure you'll be very familiar with this. I think you remember this, and for those who are following, I hope you can see what is up on the screen, and maybe one of the things, because I'm seeing there are quite a few people who are struggling with hearing what we are going through. Joanne, maybe Joanne is one of our team members at Centonomy. Just type in the chat box that if people are really struggling to hear and it's taking a bit of time to get into the Zoom space, they can log on. We are live on Facebook, so they can get in on Facebook and be able to listen there live as well. So those who are in the Zoom meeting who are struggling with their audio, I encourage you, just log off and just join us on Facebook. You'll still see and experience exactly the same thing that we're going through here. So very quickly, I'm sure, Douglas, you remember the ABC budget. This is module 1, lesson 1 at Centonomy, and it's a very important tool that we've been using since the inception of Centonomy, because we have to be able to manage our money as best as possible. And this is the tool that will help you, especially in your own home, to begin to think through it. So let me just take you through this image that is up on the screen. I want you to begin to think that we have 3 categories of expenses. 3 categories. We have A, B, and C. You'll never forget them after you come into this session, and I'm sure all those who've been in Centonomy beforehand will remember this. You have A, B, and C expenses. Now, if you look at A is described by the word essentials. You need it to survive. What we were talking about a few minutes ago with Douglas is the food that we have, the shelter over our heads. And as you can see in his case, he has lots of books, the education, things like that. Those things that are fundamental. In times like where we are right now, healthcare may be one of those essentials that you want to make sure that you have sufficient health coverage at this time. But they are the fundamentals of life. Without them, you can't survive. Like without food, you can't survive. Just think about them as essentials. Everything that you need to survive. And I think at a time like this, we're very aware of those things. The second lot that you have there are called the B expenses. B expenses. And I want you to pay attention to the B expenses. They are, and if you're taking notes, because I love when people are learning, we take notes. If you're taking notes, B expenses are important, but not essential. So important, but not essential. So there's a reason in Nairobi, and I'm sure all of us can or wherever you're logging in from, most cities it's like this. I don't know, but whether it is like this in other cities, but in Nairobi, Friday, it seems like if there are more cars on the road than there were during the week. I don't know what happens, but this is the example of why it is that the car, for instance, your car could be considered to be a B expense. It seems to me that what happens is that during the week, on a normal weekday, some people are happy to take public transport to get to the office and to do all the things that they need during the week. And on Friday, because after work, the plan is to go somewhere else other than just straight home, that is the day you actually drive your car to the office. So it means you can survive without your car. Right now, many of us are struggling without our hairdressers, without our barbers. We're wondering how is, but imagine life continues even if you can't go to the barber shop or you can't go to the hairdresser. Life can continue. Let me see, just so that we can see if people are still awake with us, if you can respond to this in the chat box down there. I want to see just whether people are thinking the same way. Going to the gym is important. It's important to stay healthy and exercise and do all that kind of thing. But if I can't go to the gym, if I can't afford to go to the gym right now, what can I do? I want to see if people have some good ideas. What can I do to survive without going to the gym? How can I keep healthy? Are you seeing the responses that are coming through there? Thank you very much. Work out at home, walk around the neighborhood, download fitness apps. Look at the options that are coming in. I can skip, I can diet, all those various things. I don't have to pay to go to the gym. Now, listen to me. It is important to stay healthy. Very important. But there are different ways that you can achieve the same thing. And look, I love going to the gym, because in the gym, you've got other people who are encouraging you. You've got lots of different options that are there. You can keep your mind alert and everything. But you know what? When push comes to shove, if I'm to choose between water, healthcare, food, and the gym, imagine the gym is secondary. It is important, but not essential. So for those who are taking down notes, please write down important. B is important. So it matters. It's a good thing to have a car. It is a good thing to be able to go to the salon. It's a good thing to be able to go to the gym. Those are B expenses. Now, even loans, we have included them there. Loans, we have even included them because even the government recognizes that loans are B expenses. If you've noticed, we have been told you can go and renegotiate your loans during this time. During this time, banks have been told you cannot list people on CRB because you know what? People are maybe losing jobs. There are some businesses are contracting at some time. So it may be a difficult period. And so the government requested the banking industry and said, don't list them. Okay, don't. Let people renegotiate and figure out a way to repay those loans. So even the government recognizes that loans are B expenses. Now, let's go to the one that many of us, in fact, we've been thinking about very deeply over this time, C expenses. C expenses is everything else. So if it is not an A expense, if it is not a B expense, then it is a C, and that means everything else. You can see subscriptions to Netflix, and all. In fact, if you're paying for TV, that is a C expense because there is free TV in this country. If you're following through on all these various areas, that is a C expense. C expense is anything over and above the essential and the important. And it is so important that we are able to put them in those various categories. We've been running our classes online, and that's the level of interaction that you usually get. And it's so important that we are all part of that. Let me just continue from there very quickly so that we get into the discussion. So once you know A, B, and C, once you know A, B, and C, then you can make some choices. Go down to the bottom left of that illustration that's up on the screen. So for example, let's talk about it, that your money will stretch the longest if you spend only on the essentials. This is what happens. If your total savings is 100,000, then it will take you a very short period of time. If you add A, B, and C, it'll take you 1 month to finish everything because all your costs are in there. If you continue living the same way, in 1 month, gone because you have continued to spend on the B and C. If you just do A and B, the important and the essential, it could take you 2 months. But sometimes when you're thinking about times of crisis like this and survival is the key, and you want to make sure that you can go at the longest period of time to survive on what we're talking about, which is what we were talking with Douglas here. Douglas was telling us he's good for a few months, die enough to leave the house. You go down to A because your monthly expense is 30K at that point, and you can stretch it the longest way. Now, here's the issue, guys. Here's the issue. The problem is many times our budgets are not this detailed. We don't know which expense is an A, B, or C. And let me take it a little bit further than that. Sometimes we don't even know where our money actually goes. Douglas, tell us about when you joined the class. There was this exercise that you were required to do called tracking of expenses. I don't want to share my shocking experience before you share yours. What was it like for you, sir?
I think, let me just be honest, I went to Centonomy such a green horn when it comes to finances. I was working at that time, I was a regional communication manager, managing 11 countries in Africa, but my salary will hardly last, a week. And I used to earn 350,000 net every month, Yes. I was single. And so Centonomy was an eye-opener. And one of the key things that I picked up, and I did it practically immediately, was tracking my expenses, because I remember being taught a lot about budgeting. And I will never forget the definition of budget, of what a budget is. A budget basically is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. So you are in control of your money. A budget, let me repeat it, it's just so sweet, I love it. A budget is basically telling your money where to go than wondering where it went. So if you're the kind of guys of nilikuwa na ngiri asubuhi hata sijui imeenda wapi, then you need to do budgeting. You need to track your expenses. And when I started, I remember for 3 months, and I was very religious. Every day, anything that I spent, even if it's a tip, I bought a newspaper, I bought a banana, I put it down. And I was shocked by the end of the 3 months when I looked back on my spending. You will not believe it, Waithaka. I used to spend over 5,000 every month giving tips. Yeah. And I didn't know it was that much until I started tracking. This thing of, you unapatia wachi 10 bob, 50 bob, 100 bob, because they were watching over your car, Sometimes you just feel generous like a politician and say, kunywa chai boss, fanya hivi. Yes. You distribute money like that. And then there's another curious expense that I also caught my eye, was newspapers. So I will be provided for newspapers every week, from Monday to Friday. Then, because I'm used to the culture of reading newspapers, and I think it's almost like it was a mindset of a middle class mindset. So every weekend I will go to buy newspapers, and I will buy the 3 of them. I will not mention, but the main 3 of them. And then from my house to the gate where I used to go and buy, it is like a 5-8 minutes walk. So I will go buy the newspapers, and as I'm walking back, I just flip through all of them. By the time I get to the house, I feel like I've read the newspaper, so I'll just throw them away there. And so I realized I'm spending over almost 200 shillings every weekend for newspapers, an expense that I don't need, because I can easily access reading newspapers online. So those are the things that really stood out for me. And of course, now the things of drinking, and I used to go out a lot and just buying guys, throwing rows for everyone. And that is when I realized there's so much money I'm throwing away that I can actually save it, and it can take me towards the journey of wealth creation.
I'm telling you, Douglas, for me, we found out, my wife and I tell this story, we found out, this was 8 years ago now, that we were spending more on takeout food than our rent. Just takeout food, not even just food for the house, takeout food, because when you add it up, we were doing, probably both of us were buying lunch at the office, and we were spending about 250 each. So 250, that's 500. Monday to Friday, that's already 2,500 that you have spent on takeout food. And there was food still in the house. You would leave food in the house and go to the office to buy again. And then on the weekend, now you go to one of the nice places that you want to go and spend 3K again, like that, 6K. So we're spending about 8.5 on takeout in a week. That's 34K. At that time, we were living in an apartment worth 28. Okay. Now, here's the thing, Douglas. We must also be alert and aware that not everybody has the same. We are privileged, and we thank God for where we are. It is by His grace that we are in the position that we are. There are those who live not probably at the same level that we are. And we must be very sensitive to that. And in this country, if you're able to go home with some extra cash, please understand you are privileged. And it's so important that we become aware and alert and are helpful in times like this. But we have found it over and over again because we train at all levels. We'll be called in to train at churches, we're called in to train in organizations, and we train at all levels. And you will still find somebody, who is earning even below minimum wage, but they have the expenses. And people will ask me, what do you mean? What do you mean things like that? Here's a question, Douglas. I don't know if you've ever called somebody and before they pick up the phone, there's something that you hear first. What is that called, Douglas? You know that song that you hear when you call someone?
The Eskiza tune.
Hey. Oh, Koi is there. Andrew is there as well. Thank you so much. You're on it. You will be surprised. I found out my house help has over 5 Skiza tunes on her phone. That means that she's paying daily over 5 shillings, because Skiza tunes used to be a shilling, I believe, but now many of them are 1 shilling, 50 cents. Some of them are even 2 shillings, 50 cents, depending on which one you choose. So on her phone, every single day, for the sake of somebody calling, she's paying 5 bob every day. You can imagine if it's, let's just say it's 5 bob. 5 bob times 7, that is 35 shillings in a week. Do you know what 35 shillings can be able to do for you? And that's the thing. We don't recognize those things. It's the same way that there's a good friend of mine that we meet at the church here together, and he just loves roast maize. And anytime there's a guy at the corner of his house that he wants to, every time he passes, he'll just pay for that roast maize. And so it's so important that we begin to think deeply about it, and discover, are there C expenses in our lives? Because if there are, those are the ones that you can begin to control and make choices about what you're going to do.
Exactly.
Yes.
Let me just add that for me, this is because, and I'll be very honest, as someone who went to Centonomy, was struggling with money.
Yes.
Breaking the habits that I had established over time was really difficult. I'll be very honest with you. And a lot of people I know, they can, appreciate what I'm saying. But then I like what you've said, because for me, this is important, because you have to start small. You have to start with the little, small expenses. And as you build the habit and the lifestyle, you start managing the bigger things. You will never manage the bigger thing. I always tell people in the mentorship program, you cannot manage 1,000 shillings if you're not able to account for 100 shillings.
That's right.
You can't, and you can't manage 100,000 shillings if you can't manage, and you're unable to manage 1,000. You're the guy who says, nilikuwa nayo sijui imeenda wapi. How then do you manage 100,000 or 1,000,000? And I'll just tell you one thing that I picked up from Centonomy, and these are just practical stuff that will help you manage your finances during a crisis or wherever, even after the crisis. One of the things immediately after Centonomy, and God is my witness, I stopped going to the barber, because I sat down and I realized I'm paying my barber, because I used to go every 2 weeks, and then it went to every week I have to shave. And then every time I shave, he used to charge me 350, then he took it to 400. So every time I go, for a month, I'm spending close to 1,000. And I realized, and then of course now I have to cross town, because I had my favorite barber in Nairobi West.
That's right, yes.
Fuel going there. And when I go there, when he shaves me, when I'm in a good mood, I will not just give him the 400. I'll give him 500. I'll give him 1,000. He will say, "Anna change," and then I'll say, "Sour boss." Next time I go, I've forgotten. So I realized I'm spending almost 12,000 a year on my head. Guess what I did? I went to a supermarket. I bought a shaver. I've been shaving myself for the last 6 years. So when people are in quarantine, they're in the house, they're saying, "Oh, I can't go to." I'm like, Can you just give the time you have and start learning how to shave yourself? The first time it was difficult, but then now I take 15 minutes to shave my head. I know all the spots on the head. I know where people miss. So I've managed that, and I save money. After Centonomy, I have never bought. Wow, you also have yours. I have mine too. Actually,
this is my job.
After Centonomy, I stopped buying lunch at work. I carry lunch every day at work. So that expense for me is foreign, and it's money that now it's going into my project and investing in other things that will build value and towards wealth creation.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, and it's not even at the thank you for bringing that issue of the barber up. And yes, I've joined you. You've just done the last 6 years. Since 2003, I've been to a barber 5 times. Since 2003. I've been cutting my own hair. The only time that I couldn't do that, that's when I went. But listen, even if you don't want to cut your own hair, Douglas, tell me, you can go to a barber right now and get your hair cut for 100 bob. Or even less, depending. Mm-hmm. You can also go to a barber like the one that is at our office. There's a barber shop near our office where the same haircut, see this one that makes you look smooth like this, will cost you the same haircut, 600 shillings for the same, 6 times the amount. Because
they are very wise. They have introduced as added value, so they massage things and we get excited to give you 1,000 shillings. Like a joke.
So if you say your hair is important, good, go for a haircut, but you don't have to go for the 600 shilling cut. You can go for the 100, and if you're like Douglas and myself, just cut your own hair. There was someone in the chat box before we take some questions, Douglas, who was saying, Dongo, this is Wambua Dunge, sorry, Wambua Dunge was saying that he does not believe my calculations. I think you missed my calculation. Said if you spend 500 bob per day on lunch, that's 10K per working month. That is not true, because you didn't listen. On the weekend, I mentioned that you don't go now and eat at the same place that you're eating at the office. Now you go to the nice place. You go to the restaurant where you'll spend easily 3,000, and on Sunday after church, you go to another place and spend another 3,000. That's what we were finding. So let me do that quick mathematics for you. 2,500 plus 3,000 plus 3,000. That's 8,500 shillings. 8,500 times 4. That's 34,000 shillings, 34,000 shillings. And we were living that time in an apartment worth 28,000 shillings 8 years ago. So you can imagine. Yeah. Yes, go ahead. Yes.
Add another thing that I'm sure a lot of people will also appreciate when you talk of habits and spending and managing and tracking your expenses. One of the other things that for me was like one of the biggest things I had to struggle with was friends. And I like talking about this, and I'm not saying this in a bad way for people who have been in my life before and people who are still in my life. But then I realized I was a people pleaser. So when we go out, I'm the one who takes care of the bills. And I wanted also, I think also psychologically, I needed that validation from friends where I'm honored, where I'm praised and respected because I'm the one who's taking care of the bills. And I realized over time, people are taking advantage of me because some of my friends who are working and probably earning the same money that I was earning, the same salaries, we just come with excuses. Oh, my dad was sick, so I sent all my money home. Soon to pay karao leo, sunifanye nini. And for me, it was an opportunity, to really, get validation and be liked and all that. So some of the things also you need to be looking back right now is who are the people surrounding you? Who are the people that are contributing to your spending? And is it worth it? Are they? One of the things I loved, what I took away from Centonomy was you can actually have fun and entertain yourself pretty much for free. You don't have to go to a bar from 7 o'clock on Friday and leave a bar at 3 in the morning so that you're entertained. You can entertain yourself. You can have friends in the house. You can buy, if you're drinking, you can buy a mzinga or whatever, which I don't advocate because I'm born again. But if you can have some juices or some tea, you can catch up on. There are other ways of having fun than just the traditional one that we are used to, that by end of the day, you really, really, really have waste time out of that. I think I needed just to emphasize that because some people will say, I cannot shave myself, I cannot do this, but there are other things around some habits that you have that you need to start checking on.
No, I completely agree. Thank you so much, Douglas. And there's Simon. No, not Simon. This is Hilda. Hilda is saying that Kwanzaa relatives can milk you dry. So in the Centonomy class and this ABC budget, because this is what we teach in the class as far as budgeting is concerned. And budgeting, we only spend one of our modules on. It's about 20 minutes because we understand the principle of budgeting, but the issue is that we don't practice it well. Let me tell you something, my fellow Kenyans and those even who are tuning in from outside of this country. We are excellent employees. You know, if you ask Douglas about his budgeting meetings at his office, If you ask Waithaka about the budgeting meetings at Centonomy, we fight for weeks and months. We sit in offices, we get to the final cent for our employer. But when we get home, our budget is kind of like, it's in our head somewhere. We tell ourselves that we know the major items. We know rent, we know school fees, we know the loan repayment. Please note, the things that we know are the ones that have been determined by someone else. The rent was determined by your landlord. The loan was determined by the bank. The school fees was determined by the school bursar. But now when I start asking, how much did you spend on groceries? About 15,000, Bob. How much did you spend on entertainment? Maybe 5K, about 5K. At the office, you cannot respond to your boss and say, on this project, you spent about. I don't know where that came from. So we have to begin to be specific with our own money. And I know, guys, it takes work, but that is the truth. Wealth creators are hard workers. But guess what? You get used to it. You get into the process along the way, and you're able to do it more regularly with less stress over time. And just the same way that you spend time working on your budget for your employer, why can't you do the same for your own household? Douglas, what has budgeting done for your house?
Oh, amazing, amazing. I will just say this, and I'm saying this with a lot of humility and just to thank God for his grace, because this just has come by the grace of God. The way I had started in the beginning, as we speak now, we have enough shopping for the next 4 months. But we didn't just go out and stock the house because there was coronavirus and we were told to sit in the house. No, this has been a life story for a very long time. What we do is, like, we have enough shopping as it is now. But this week, this coming next week, this end of the month, it's next week, we are going to do shopping the way we have been doing. So we are still stocking. So whatever we'll bring next week is building up now, extending the lifestyle of the lifespan of our shopping to another 5 months. And that for me has given me even it has given me that peace of mind, because now it shows also we are in control of whatever our life is, and it gives some luxury, because now when we go next week to do some shopping, we'll say, I think we have really quite enough tissue paper for the next 5 months, so let's buy something else, or let's not buy tissue paper, let's invest in these projects that we are doing. Let's cut these expenses and let's move this money here. So that has given us the flexibility to be able to do many other things that we will not otherwise have done.
That's right. I want to respond to Sandra. I like Sandra K's response, but naturally, some of these expenses are not a problem to fight right now, like going out. Some of these expenses have been reduced by default. Sandra, you will be surprised that all these companies have now started doing delivery to your house. So all it is now you're not going out, you're now just delivering. You can even get whatever it is that you want in this city, you will get it delivered to your house today. So believe me, those expenses, I live in my neighborhood, I still see those delivery bikes coming in and out of these different places. Since you're still allowed to go, you can't stay in the restaurant, but you can go and buy and take things home. These businesses are still running. So I disagree with you, not by default, maybe because of the pressure on your income that you've made that change. Now, I wanted to just respond to one more before we go straight into questions now, and we try and answer as many as we can in the times that we have. My brothers, my sisters, when we only focus on where our money is going, which is the budget, we are losing the direction. We must be thinking deeply about how we are gaining money as well. We must focus on investing and looking for opportunities as well. Wealth creators are not just savers, they create value. So it is so important that we manage the money we have, because what it will allow you to do is begin to make investments that you had not made before. That's number one. But also that money that is coming in, how do we supplement it? At the very beginning of the course, Douglas, I think you remember this, we challenge people to do what is called a non-financial balance sheet. When we say non-financial, it means what are some of the skills, the abilities, some of the things that you have, some resources that maybe they're not money, they're not financial right now, but if you worked on them, they could become an earner for you. What did you discover for yourself, Douglas, when you went through that session?
So the first thing for me was I had this traditional mindset of, I can only have an income from a salary. And that was it. And so what Centonomy did was open the world to me and I since then I've picked this word and it's become like a favorite word for me, non-financial assets. So these are assets that are not financial in nature, the way you've said. These are things like skills, knowledge, networks, even time. These are things that you can take advantage of and build on them, and they're able to bring you an income. And I'll just give an example, for instance, and it's featured in Making Sense, the book by the lovely Washeke. One of the things when I came to Centonomy, because for the last 15 years I've been in the NGO world, so I have over time built quite a concrete level of networks. And so when I had this word from Centonomy, I realized, wait a minute. I know CEOs, I know country directors, I know regional people, guys who work in the NGO world, and I can tap in and, in terms of communication consultancy. And one of the things I did in week 4 of Centonomy, I reached out to one of my friends who was a country director for a Canadian NGO. And I asked him, hey, boss, how are you? He was so excited to hear from me. And I said, by the way, do you have any communication consultancy work that you can do? Then we scheduled a meeting the following week. Long story short, he gave me a job for 2 weeks that I did. And I walked away with $500,000, just like that. And it opened my mind. I was like, wait a minute. When you mean money can enter my account other than a salary? There is some other money that can enter. And that opened my world up to today. So what I started doing was I look for, up to today, I look for what are other opportunities, skills that I have, opportunities around me, networks that I have that I can use and leverage to bring in an income. And I'll just give you like an example. I had mentioned when we came for the open day that by the grace of God, we managed as a family to buy a land just near Karen. And what we've done with the land, as we are planning to start building our family home, we have cut a half of the land, like an eighth of it, and we started in December. We didn't go to Shags in December, and we started, planting vegetables. As I speak now, we have 18 different type of species of crops on that farm. We have maize, we have all indigenous vegetables, we have everything. 3 months ago, we started, selling. And we of course we do we have a directory of how much we are making. Tomorrow we have orders tomorrow, a lot of orders tomorrow. We are going to the farm, and it's delivered to the people who want it. And I was even shocked that within my apartment block, everyone wants this thing. So the market is already where I live. I don't even have to advertise. And I will not advertise for a while because now we will be overwhelmed by demand. But just, it's an example that here is an opportunity. The other thing is that I write. When I came to Centonomy, I had published my first novel, but I just published out of fun. I didn't know I can make money out of it. But then it woken me up that because I love writing, I can write for a living. I can write for an income. And that's what I've been doing. My second novel is doing very well. I'm working on my third and fourth novel as we speak now. And so I just want to challenge guys that you are actually sitting on a gold mine, because I want people to change their mindset that and trust me, you will never get rich from a salary. You will never get rich from a salary. You will get rich and wealthy from other sources of income. And God has given us the brains. God has given us opportunities. God has given us time. And even just the networks, the people around you, can help you create wealth. Pick on your passion, run with it, make money out of it.
So Douglas, I'm telling you, that idea of non-financial assets, let me take it even further than that. We've found it in our class often, and I always ask this question. There are people who buy a plot of land like what you did, and you said this is for your family home, and this person has an intention to build later, or they want to maybe sell it at another point, but they don't know when. So they end up leaving the land empty for years. And it's doing absolutely nothing. So I really applaud you, because in the class, I always challenge people, what is it doing for you right now? Yes, it's appreciating in value, but what is it doing for you?
So as people Waithaka are saying, oh, we are in the house, lockdown, the economy is doing bad, us guys are making money. And I'm not saying that out of pride. I'm saying that with a lot of humility. We are just taking advantage of the opportunities that we have.
And you're not the only one, so don't take it badly. It's look, whenever there's a problem, you have to see it as an opportunity. Even the drug companies right now are seeing this is the biggest healthcare problem that there has been in the world history. They are fighting and working hard to get a cure, a vaccine. They are going to make money from that at some point. And it's so important to look, when there's a problem, it's an opportunity. Let's respond to a question here. There's a lady called June Kongoro. June, you had a question about mchangos. June, are you there? Hi, June.
Hi.
What was your question? You need to express yourself.
So now,
yes.
See, we live in a community.
Good.
So this week, somebody has had a baby. Next week, somebody is going to India. Next week, somebody needs to go to do their master's. Next week, God forbid, somebody has died. Yes. You realize that you haven't budgeted for this amount because obviously you can't foresee this. But now when you look at it, you spend 10,000 to 20,000 you are not planned for.
That's right.
You give 10K. Then if somebody is a little more senior, you give 5K.
Yes.
Yeah.
So June, you have answered your question. So I thank you for using that correct term. You know what word you used?
Yes.
I had not planned for.
Yes.
You said it, not me. You said you spend money you had not planned for. Now, next month, will there be a birthday?
No.
There'll be no birthday next month.
There'll be, but there'll be no celebration.
No, there'll be a birthday. Yes. I assure you.
Yes.
Even if it's via Skype or whatever it is you'll put your phone there and celebrate. Next month, see, somebody might get sick, God forbid, but there might be somebody sick.
That's true.
See, there are people even still planning their weddings.
Yes.
Okay. So every month there'll be a need. So why can't we plan, June, for that?
So let's say I try to plan, so I say I put aside 5K, right?
Good.
Then they come 10 of them.
Good.
So I divide 10 by 5.
Yes.
Okay.
Here's the thing, June. Let me. I know I'm joking a little bit. Let's get serious. Can we get a bit serious now? So here's the thing, June. Your wedding is not my emergency. Do you understand?
Yes.
It's yours. You've planned for it. It is your life. If you go to the registry in fact at our church, we offer weddings for free. You don't have to pay anything. We do it on a Sunday morning, and during the Sunday service, you get your certificate. Everything is legal. You have witnesses, and it is free. Completely free. So if you're spending money on your wedding, that's your choice. If you make that my problem, then we're in trouble. I'm not now, listen, June, I'm not saying that I will not give towards your wedding, but I will give what I can afford. Are we together?
Yes.
A birthday party, we celebrate and we give thanks to God. No problem. But imagine it, we celebrate and thank God. That toy which you buy for that small person, they will have broken it and it will be lost by next month. They have even forgotten about it. So if it is something that is over and above that what I can expect, then it's not my issue. If I spend, it's my choice. Are we together?
Yes.
Listen, June, and this one I want us to take very seriously, because I know people are going through an extremely hard time, and I want us to really hear what I'm saying clearly. Even when it comes to sicknesses within the family, imagine there are limits. When you have a relative, even a very close relative, who is unwell and may need serious care, do you sell your house to go and give them? Because you could sell your house, isn't it? So that they could get all the treatment. Do you do that?
No.
No. So it means you have a limit. Would you give away all your savings so that your children don't go to school next month because somebody is sick?
No.
No. So it means there's a limit. So in the class, we're not saying be calloused and don't give. In fact, we're saying plan to give even more. But the issue is to plan. In your budget, if you remember the budget that we were even talking about here, and in fact, before the end of the class, I'll show you the budget that we use. You should put a line item there, charity or giving, and say on average, usually there's a funeral, there's a wedding, there's this, and say my budget for that is 5,000. Anything over and above that, there has to be something so serious that it requires you to take. In our class, we even advocate not just to have a budget, but to have an emergency fund. So a fund that you put aside for actual emergencies. No, your wedding is not an emergency. I love you deeply, but your wedding is not an emergency. Do you see what I'm talking about? Your bridal shower, your baby shower is not an emergency. And that's what we need to begin to see. I hope that has helped you, June.
It has.
Douglas, go ahead. Yes.
For me, June, and I understand, and I know someone else has also asked about relatives, and I mentioned earlier about friends. What I've done is that over time, people who are close to me, my friends, my relatives, even my immediate family member, my parents and my siblings, they have come to understand now my mindset and how I deal with money. And so one of the things, first of all, is that the way Waithaka said, your emergency is not my emergency. So if you didn't plan for something and all of a sudden, I understand the context of emergency, someone falling sick and all that, but these things of birthday and, weddings and all that, and you're pushing me so much, you've just put me in our subgroup and pushing me so much to contribute and all that, I'll just politely tell you, no, I can't do that. And one of the things I always say that people have now understood that I'm also very strict with my budget. You can't, even my own mom took like 3 years to really, take her through Centonomy 101 village version. You know what, mom, this is the 10K you're supposed to use end of the month. This is the shopping you buy like this. This is for your emergency. So when Mama June comes or Mama Nani comes and they ask, do you what? Please tell them this is for your food and for your whatever. It took 2 years, but we are still working on it, by the way. I think she's here to graduate from the Gumbaro one, but we are still working on it. But my point is this. Now the people, everyone around me understand that you can't just ambush me when it comes to money. First of all, I expect you to have a plan. One of the things I've learned from Centonomy is that wealth is never created out of disorder. You can never create wealth out of disorder. That is why you need to have a financial plan and financial goals. I earn this. This is how much it goes for rent. This is my expenses. This is my savings. And you have to be disciplined if you want to achieve financial freedom. So don't be in a habit of entertaining people left and right, because people also people learn to take advantage of you. And I'm one guy who have really learned through a hard lesson out of that. So people, watu wanajuanga tu adagini kimitisha ngiri moja atanipatia. He will move mountains and cross oceans to give me the money, because he's that kind of a person. But if you start, there's one of the things that you have to learn is now the power of saying no. Whether I will hurt your feelings or not, by the end of the day, I'm also putting my interest on the table.
Yeah. And here's the thing, Douglas, if we just say this is how much we are going to be give over and above, you can be able to say no. One of the best tools to use, and for those who are taking notes, write this down, is if you don't have the money, you can't give it. And one of the best things, one of our trainers, I'm sure, Douglas, you remember him, he's called Isaac Keegan. He's quite an amazing, he's a funny character, but he's really realistic. Isaac says this, I am broke, and he uses it in those terms. I'm usually broke on the first week of the month. Why is that? Because what he has decided with his money is that if I don't have it, I can't spend it. So he sends his money out. Immediately it comes in, it has gone. So immediately his investment money has gone into his investment account. It's a direct order. Immediately he has paid school fees even before he has seen it. Immediately, in fact, he has put some cash into his credit card so that when he swipes at the supermarket, immediately when the cash comes in, he repays. So by week 1 of the month, he's broke in that all the cash has gone out. He has saved, he has invested, he has paid all his bills. Now whatever money is left, he knows, if this is what I'm going to survive on by the end of the month. So if you don't have the money, you can't spend it. Exactly. Let's take a couple of comments from Facebook. I can see Diana Besiga. I believe that's Diana. We no longer go out for lunch on Sundays. Instead, I make the same meals for my families. That's brilliant, because now I'm sure you're saving along the way. Diana, keep going in that same direction. In times like this, it requires creativity. So it requires discipline to manage your money, but it also requires creativity to continue living life, not only to earn, but even to enjoy what you have. So thank you so much for that. I'm trying to get now if there are any other questions along the way. I wanted to share a little bit about the programs that are coming up, but if you don't mind, if you have a question, just say, you can raise your hand or you can type it in the chat box, and we'll have a quick time for Q&A at this point. And then I will highlight a few things that you can find out at Centonomy. Here's another comment from Felix. This is on Facebook. Was taught at Centonomy to even plan for my summit. I use the envelope method of budgeting. I have envelopes for house rent, milk and bread, electricity, gas, petrol, food, shopping, everything. I mean, this is the orderly life that we're talking about. And in times like this, that order can stretch. If you look at what's on the screen right now, look at that ABC. If you spend on everything ABC when there's little income coming through, then the money is gone in a short period of time. If you reduce, it stretches. If you reduce even more, it stretches. And what we're trying to do in times of crisis is to stretch through. We want to survive and to thrive even in times like this. So manage the money you have. And even as Douglas was talking about, think of creative ways to create more. Yes, Douglas, it sounded like you wanted to say something.
Before you go now into, because I know you're winding up, before you go into the programs you offer Centonomy, let me just say this is very important. If I don't say it, I'll feel very bad. Most of us are home. We are working from home. Most of us cannot go out. We cannot socialize. This is the perfect opportunity for now to start investing in yourself. If you look behind me, and I'm not boasting, this is one of our bedrooms, and it's my office, and it's also a library. I have invested in books. I read a lot. Every week I read at least one book and finish. And so I want to just encourage people, invest in knowledge. This is the opportunity. Invest in sharpening your skills. Use your time wisely. And then the other thing also, invest in your career in terms of knowledge and skills, so that by the time we go back to work, the normal work now, we go to our offices or wherever, those who are in businesses, you have what I call a competitive advantage. And you have improved yourself to a certain way that by the end of this year, you should be looking for a promotion or looking for a bigger job than you have now. My question, as I will leave with you, my last question will be, what are you doing now? There's something you need to do than just sitting in the house, watching all kinds of series and become an expert in series, but you're not an expert of your own life. This is the time now to look for things and do them. This is the time God has given us. And I was just thinking today morning, I think God has just reset the default setting of the world to kind of stop people to realize, wait a minute, Premier League is not all there is to life. Going out is not that there is to life. I think this is the time, and I look at it as if God is just telling us, wait a minute, you need to step back now and interrogate your own lives. Yeah. I will want to challenge everyone. The Bible says in Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verses 10, that whatever your hands finds to do, do it with all your might. For in the grave where you're going, there is no wisdom, there is no planning or knowledge. Whatever your hands finds to do something with what opportunities you have. You have a cooker in your house. Start learning how to bake mandazis and chapatis and wherever and cakes and open a business. Start thinking now outside the mentality of a salary. So I will leave that just with you guys. As we go back to work, my question will be to you is, what is your value now? When Corona started and Corona stopped, has your value in terms of employability, your business as an individual, has it gone up or has it depreciated? Thank you.
That's right. Thank you so much, Douglas. And there's a wonderful question which I must respond to now. That's from Margaret. Margaret is asking, where does savings go in the A, B, C categories? And let me respond this way. In times like this, we must be clear about what is essential for life. And when we talk about it, you have to think about it like this. Would you put some money in a savings account if somebody in your house has not eaten that day? The likelihood is not. So it would be considered that it honestly would be considered a B expense, because A means without it, you cannot survive. So saving and investing is extremely important. But please remember, at a time like this, there are people who are on survival mode. There's no space, there's no gap for anything extra to put aside. And it is so important that at that time you're able to say, if I manage what I have, this can take care of my family food-wise, rent-wise, survival-wise for the next 3 months. If I start putting it into other investments, then it's not there. So you probably save it, but not for growth, save it to use. So yes, I think that hopefully has got you to understand. A means essential for life. Without it, you cannot live. So I want you guys to understand, and thank you so much for everyone who's been participating in this session. Thank you so much, Douglas, for sharing your amazing nuggets of wisdom. I wanted to let you guys know about our program called Centonomy 101. This is what Centonomy has been doing for months, and so not months, for years. Since the beginning, this is over 10 years we've been running this program. It is designed to help you create wealth. And we take you through a detailed program, just the same way that Douglas is talking about. This is the time to be building your wealth knowledge, so that as you take advantage of this time, you'll be growing as well. We start off with the modules that you can see there. Module 1, personal money management. We talk about your mindset, how money works. And that's the only time we talk about this ABC budget. We give you a template and take you through that process. And then we get into the investment and money management skills. So in module 2 is time value of money. Time value of money will teach you how much bread will cost 10 years from now, and how much education will cost, and what you need to do today to invest to get there. This is a life-changing, for me it was life-changing, because now you can almost see into the future and prepare. Debt management, how do you manage your debt, and how do you get out of debt, bad debt, as quickly as possible? How can you use debt for growth? Then we have to plan. Let me tell you what investment planning is. It is vision, you turn it into a goal, and then you take actions. If you don't have a vision, what are you aiming for? And so the Living Abundantly class is about getting you to write down, this is my vision. I want to live in this place by the time I'm this age. I want to take my children to this school. I want to have this amount of investments. That Living Abundantly class begins to put your focus on your goals. And then we get into the investment classes. So we have investment in treasury bills and bonds, as well as understanding unit trusts. And all these classes are taught by investment experts in those areas. When you say treasury bills and bonds, what do they mean? How do I get involved? How do they help me in my plan? What is a unit trust? I hear of all these things. Unit trust, mutual fund, are they all the same? And in that class, we are defining them and understanding them, how they work for you. Then we talk about property, so that you'll be like Douglas, who buys a plot of land, and instead of just leaving it there to do nothing, it can be earning you something, or even just feeding your family. We also talk about how does property work into your investment strategy. It's not just about buying land. What can you do so it pays you back? We also talk then about investing in the stock market, in the securities market. How does it work? Is it for you know, there are all these myths. Investing in the stock market is for cartels. It's only some few people who know how it works. When you come into that class, our trainer, David, who's been in investment banking for over 20 years, he'll tell you stories. He'll simplify it for you that you'll just wonder, why haven't I been involved since the very beginning? And then we get into the classes that help you protect your money, protect your investments. That is insurance. And understanding insurance. Is it an investment or is it not? How does insurance work for me? We talk about estate planning, and that's important, that you begin to think not just about when I die, what's going to happen, but while I'm alive, how do I organize my wealth? Do I do it through a trust? Do I put it in a will? Do I put it into a company? What's the best way? And we talk about it in that class. Then we also talk about understanding taxes, so that you'll never look at your payslip the same again, so that you make sure you're not paying more tax than you should. And the final class, which is so important for you that you must attend, module 11, is called My Financial Plan. In that class, you use all the knowledge that you have been learning from module 1 to 10 to put together a 5-year financial plan, a 5-year financial plan that will get you to begin to take the actions that Douglas has been sharing about. The last class, we talk a little bit about investment groups, otherwise known as chamas, what their power is, and we talk a little bit more about implementation, and we graduate. It is a truly transformational program. just so that you can see how they're divided. You have the money management or the money skills at the very beginning, then the investment, and then protecting your money and coming out with a 5-year financial plan, including all the investments that are there. And what is amazing is, as Douglas has said, this is the best time to be learning. We are so excited at Centonomy because in the past we've been restricted into rooms of probably less than 50 people. But now when we go online, we can have a session like this when we have, now we have over 100 people who are listening to us just in Zoom. But even on Facebook, we've got a lot more. And so even if you're not in Nairobi, this is the best time to begin to invest in yourself. And not only that, but we have our classes 20% off in our next season. This, ask Douglas what he paid. He'll be very sad that we're doing that. But for our alumni, we'll take care of you. Don't worry. We'll take care of you as well. Our class is 20% off during this season because we must be there to support one another. The classes are usually held in the evenings from 6 to 8:30 p.m. All through the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then on Saturday morning. And the good thing about this is because it's now online, if something was not clear, you can tune into the next class, because we're running the same class on each one of those days. It's one class per week for 12 weeks. One class per week, because you have to go home and do implementation. You might come in a second time just to get it right in your mind. That's the power of doing these classes online. The registration fee is only 1,500, and then the tuition is 34,500. However, you can pay these fees in installments. So you don't have to pay the full amount at the beginning. In fact, just so that you can be able to get a test for what is going on in the class, if you pay the registration fee, we usually allow you to come in and learn in the first class. It's so amazing to be able to do that. Please feel free, as you can see in the chat box, if you're looking for contacts, Joanne has been sharing a lot of information there. Please feel free to reach out to us. The number that you can reach out to is on the screen, 0700036433, or you can email Maureen at centonomy.com. This class will change your life. Just to mention as well, for everybody who's here, all our programs are now available online, which is so exciting for us as well. So it means that if you are at home, this is the time you can invest and actually change your life. Charlene is asking, what is the alumni discount? Everybody is getting this 20% discount right now. So alumni usually in the past would get a 5% discount. If they've done one program, you can get 5% off on the next. But right now, everybody's enjoying this 20% discount coming into this program. So Charlene, you're more than welcome to come and join us. So if there are any questions, please do ask now. You can raise your hand or just type them into the chat box. And remember, please, guys, make this investment for yourself. If I can just take you back just a little bit, I want to show you what the power is. We highly recommend, you can see that first part, managing your, sorry, let me just get this off this, managing your money or money management skills. Those ones are important for everybody. The mindset, the budgeting process, time value of money. Without time value of money, you cannot go into the investment classes because they will not make sense. Time value of money shows you how I will use property to achieve this goal. I will use stocks to achieve this goal. I will use business to achieve this goal. I'll use bonds and treasury bills to achieve this. Without the time value of money class, you cannot make sense of the investment classes and debt as well. So I highly recommend, even if you might say that amount, I don't have it now, the full amount, you can still start the class with the managing your money or money management skills section, and just come in for those modules as you build towards the modules that will help you. Within those first 4 modules, including Living Abundantly, you have enough to get you started on your investment journey. The whole program is life-changing, but those first 4 are what you need to get started. And it's so important that you go through that. So I encourage you to do so and to join. Yes, Douglas, you wanted to say something.
I wish to drop off. I have another work.
No problem. Thank you so much. God bless you as you go. And thank you so much for your time. So
I had a lot of fun. Thank you guys for logging in and joining the call. And I look forward to another of these sessions, these conversations. So please feel free to always get in touch with me.
Great. So some people are asking this question. Thank you so much, Douglas, as you go. Some people are asking, is this a good time? No worries, I'm responding now to the questions that are coming through. So feel free, Douglas, if you need to get into your next meeting. Asante. So I'm responding to some questions. Is now a good time to be investing? And the answer is, in some areas, yes. So in our class, we are always pushing for the agenda that when it's time to invest, ask the investment expert. So the good thing is, like, for instance, if you're investing in the stock market, you have to go through a stockbroker. And if you are to go and speak to your stockbroker and ask them, what are the best places to be investing right now, you might find some good deals. Let me explain why. Because of the global sentiment, the way people are feeling, people are taking money out of the market. They want to have a lot of cash. So what's happening is that bringing the whole price of the market down, okay? And in so doing, there are some companies that now may be being offered on the stock market at a discount. What does that mean? That, God willing, once we get out of this crisis, the price might go back up to where it should actually be. And so if you buy at this time, and God willing, within the next 6 months to 1 year, the economy starts kicking back in and the price goes back up, you see you'll make the difference in that price. Now, that's not all the stocks, but there are some stocks that are available for doing that. Somebody else was asking, is it a good time to invest? Maybe you don't have to directly invest in the stock market. You can invest in yourself and say, hey, I have this skill. What can I be doing with it just now? Maybe to invest in a laptop and a headset like this, and you can start offering training online to some people, and that could be a way of investing in yourself. So is it a good time to invest? I think it's always a good time to invest. It's to understand which investment you want to get into. So that's a great question. Shumi, you have a question? Shumi Ahmed?
No, sorry, you're messing up, sorry.
It's okay, no problem. I don't mind. This has been so much fun. Please do stay tuned, especially to our social media. We've got quite a few events coming up across all our programs. But remember, as you heard, as Joanne was sharing earlier on, we're starting on the 2nd of June, the Centonomy 101 program. 2nd of June, and this gives you enough time to prepare, to get yourself ready to get into a cycle, and you can choose any one of those classes, as I mentioned earlier, either Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Saturday. And sometimes if you want to retake the class during the week with the online platform, it is also possible to do so. This is the time to invest in yourself. And remember, that fee which you're seeing on the screen, that's the total you can pay in installments. So get started, start. That's all I say. Get into the class. You will be surprised how much within a short period of time that you can be able to save yourself. Some people who are in debt have found that once they do the debt class itself pays for everything, because it gets you out of debt quickly, and you can see how much you save on interest by understanding how debt works. If there are no other questions, this is your opportunity, especially for those who are on the Zoom platform. Just raise your hand if you have any question, and I'll try and respond to it. If not, and I don't see any in the chat box as well, unless I'm missing. Yes, so for those who are asking, will the classes only be online? As far as the law is concerned right now, we are not allowed to be holding classes physically, and therefore we are planning for all our classes to be online. And even if the law should change, by God's grace, that we get out of this crisis and we can begin to meet once again, there will still be an option for you to continue to learn online. All right. Shumi is asking, is the fee payable per module? Yes, it is payable per module. However, there are modules that are prerequisites. As I said, you cannot go into the investment classes if you don't understand how debt works, if you don't understand how time value of money works. So yes, you can come into each week, each module. Each week you can get into the class as you pay. That is no problem. So the flexibility of the installments is extremely high because of the online nature of this. And remember, on that contact at the bottom, if you have any other questions beyond this, if there's anything that we have not shared, even about our other programs, please reach out to Maureen at centonomy.com, and she'll be able to share with you those details as quickly as possible. So please take that down. The number there is 07000 36433. Or you can email Maureen at centonomy.com and ask any of the questions as far as our programs are concerned. She will direct you to the right places. So there being no other question, we were supposed to take an hour. We've taken an hour and 20 minutes, but it's because you guys were so much fun and we really enjoyed. And I hope it has been encouraging to you. Even in times of crisis, it is possible to make a profit and to continue to grow. In fact, just to give you an example, we're using a platform called Zoom, and Zoom on the securities exchange, the stock market in the US, I think it has more than quadrupled, more than 4 times what it was worth at the beginning of this year, because now everybody's online. Where is the opportunity for you? At Centonomy, we believe wealth is the ability to live the lifestyle that you want without having to work. What does that mean? That you have enough assets to support the lifestyle that you want. Come and learn about wealth creation from us. Guys, see you in class. Do reach out to us. We've got lots more free material. Make sure that you keep checking us out on Facebook and all other social media platforms. We are here to help. Take care. God bless.